Hello and welcome everyone to this week's BFG review. Now before I get started, I want to thank anyone that's watched my previous videos and remind everyone to please like, share, and subscribe because it really does help grow the channel. Now, with that out of the way, on to this week's review, which is...
Jumanji, The Next Level. Directed by Jake Kasdan and starring Dwayne Johnson, Jack Black, Karen Gillan, Kevin Hart, Madison Iseman, Alex Wolff, Morgan Turner, Sir Darius Blaine, Rory McCann, Danny Glover, and Danny DeVito.
In this film, the gang is back, but the game has changed. As they return to rescue one of their own, the players will have to brave parts unknown from arid deserts to snowy mountains to escape the world's most dangerous game known as Jumanji. So, we'll start right off the bat with our first impressions. What did you think of the film? Oh, and also, what did you think of the 2017 reboot and the 1990s original?
I liked the 1990s original. It wasn't a huge movie from my childhood, but I liked it. And I loved the 2017 reboot of the series. I thought it was very unique and original, and in a time when we're seeing a ton of reboots of older movies, it was very refreshing and so good.
So what did you think of this film? Well, I'll give my thoughts on the 90s film first. I love the 90s film. It was actually a big part of my childhood. So when I knew that there was a reboot coming out in 2017, I was a little hesitant. But again, like you said, it was super refreshing to see a reboot kind of done right. They kept the spirit of the original while updating it to modern times, which I thought worked really well. The cast, I thought, worked really well together and really made the film. And overall, I just kind of loved the film. So I was excited for this one. But I felt like you were really excited for this film.
Oh, yeah, I love the first one. And I thought this one just had the same sort of fun, upbeat tone with a lot of action that isn't too gory and a lot of humor. And honestly, it is just a fun movie to go see.
I agree. I think that is the best way to describe this film. And I know some people don't like to hear that a film's fun. They kind of equate that with the film is bad for some reason. But I disagree with that. This film is just so much fun to watch, especially if you're in a theater with a big crowd. When you have that big crowd, everyone's laughing at the same times. Everyone's getting excited at the same times. It's just a great, great time in the theater.
It really is. So what did you think of the story in general?
The story in general I thought was pretty good. I will say the reason that they go back in the game, or the initial reason why Spencer, the main kid from the first one, goes back in the game, I thought was a little, his motivation was a little weak. It kind of made sense, but I think they probably could have found a stronger motivation. There's a side plot in there about a feud between Danny Glover and Danny DeVito, and I thought that actually worked a lot better than what I would consider the main conflict between Spencer and the other three friends. But the story of the game is almost the exact same. It's get this item, get it to this point, say Jumanji. That's almost the exact same, but the changes they make, I think, are big enough and done well enough that it feels new and like a completely different film.
Yeah, and they even in the movie they address that point there, and it comes up very quickly, so this isn't a spoiler at all. But they say why is this game not the exact same as it was last time? It should be the exact same, and we should be able to get through this no problem. But they don't. There's a lot of hiccups along the way, and the game has changed, which is it makes it a very interesting movie.
Yeah, the game has changed, and not only the game has changed, but the characters have changed as well. You have again, instead of having Spencer and Fridge as the Rock and Kevin Hart, you have Danny Glover and Danny DeVito, and they take a lot longer to get used to the game than the other kids did in the first film, so that's an added obstacle, as well as the game itself has also changed. There are different levels now, and it's a different bad guy, and again, it's just a fun film, and the first half, I think you agree to this a lot, is super funny.
It's hilarious.
It is one of the funniest films, I think, this year.
Definitely, yeah. And you mentioned some of the characters, The Rock and Kevin Hart, who play the two old man best friends.
Right.
What did you think of the cast in general and how they did with these new characters?
I think everyone did great. Karen Gillan is pretty much the same character as she was in the last
But
film.
she's great.
She's great, but she's not a standout, unfortunately. She's great, but just she's doing the same thing she did in the last film, as opposed to Jack Black and The Rock and Kevin Hart, who all have to play new characters.
And Awkwafina, throwing that one in.
And Awkwafina, well, let's not spoil what she does, but she's in there and she's also amazing. But The Rock and Kevin Hart are probably the two leads of this film, and they do a great job. I think Kevin Hart does better than The Rock because he has to kind of do a Brooklyn accent at times, and at times it gets a little too cartoony for me.
The Rock, you mean?
Oh, is that what I say?
He has to.
Oh, The Rock has to do the Brooklyn accent, and that gets a little too cartoony at times, and it just doesn't really work.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I kind of gave him a pass because of how funny the whole story in general was. It didn't throw me off at times. But yeah, I think Kevin Hart and Jack Black are definitely the two stars in terms of their acting in this movie.
Yeah, Jack Black was also really good. I think he really handled having to play a different race really well. He wasn't playing a stereotype. But he was clearly this character. He was clearly Fridge. And I think it worked really well.
Yeah, that could have definitely got a little dicey, but he handled it well.
Yeah, it could have got dicey very quickly. And luckily, he handled it very well.
And that's another point to bring up. The writers did a great job in this movie.
The writing is really good in this film. It's nothing spectacular. It's no Aaron Sorkin, but it's handled really well enough. Don't give me that face. You should know who Aaron Sorkin is. But the dialogue's great. Most, if not all, of the jokes pretty much land. There might be a couple that some people don't like, but most of it lands.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, the writing was good.
What did you think about the visuals of it? Because it's a very CG heavy film, obviously inside the game.
It's not the best CG, but that kind of makes it better, the film in general, because it's a video game, and the CGI looks like what could realistically be in a video game today.
Right. I think the filmmakers knew that we don't have to make this look like the Planet of the Apes series with their CG.
Or Avatar.
Like something groundbreaking. They knew they're in a video game, so that's kind of our excuse to, make it look a little more like a video game. It doesn't have to look perfect. Everything doesn't have to look super realistic. And I think it really works well for them. Do you have any thoughts on the music, the score, or soundtrack, or anything?
Honestly, no. And that might be a good thing. I didn't even notice anything bad or anything good about it. It just kind of mirrored the film and the story perfectly.
There's some exaggerated parts when they do backstory and flashbacks, but I think that's kind of meant to, you hear a lot of the drums beating and stuff like that, and I think it's kind of meant to, again, mirror a video game where the music's much more dramatic than I think an average film.
And you mentioned flashbacks, not to ruin anything, but look out for this. If you're going to go see this movie, look out for this flashback of The Rock's character's father. It's hilarious. One of the best moments of the movie, maybe.
I started dying at that point. That was probably, I think that was the funniest moment in the film for me. Honestly, it's just a brief glimpse of what The Rock's father looked like, and it was so good.
Speaking of good moments in the movie,
right?
Were there any other standout moments for you?
I think some of the standout moments. Actually, there is a really heartfelt moment between technically The Rock and Kevin Hart, but / Danny DeVito, Danny Glover, where they kind of had a feud going up throughout most of the movie, and there's a scene where they kind of sit down and actually talk about it, and it's a legit scene. If you took this dialogue, you could put it into a legit drama about two friends who drifted apart, and it gets you emotional. And there's another scene at the end that also gets you kind of emotional, and I just will say that some people may cry at a horse. That's all I'm going to say, but some people may do that. I almost did it, not quite there, but some people might.
Yeah, for me, the standout moments were definitely more action-y and humor-related.
Probably more the characters themselves.
Yeah, I liked and you see it in the trailer, the moment with the monkeys in the bridge. I thought that was a cool action scene.
That was a very cool scene.
Yeah.
And they finally, one character kind of got somewhat of a redemption.
Yeah.
At that point, I thought was really well done as well. So what are your overall thoughts? Anything else you want to say or anything you want to reiterate?
I think it's a really fun movie. Again, you should definitely go see it if you want something lighthearted, fun, easy to watch. Yeah, definitely go see it.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. It's a fun, lighthearted film with lots of humor, lots of action, some decent acting, and I would say
Great acting.
yeah, pretty great acting, and also great for the whole family. Mostly, I guess maybe if you're like a real young kid, like maybe like 7 or younger, and there
Definitely
might be some
10 up. You can
10 up.
take
Yeah,
your
okay,
kids,
10 up.
Yeah.
I take your kids, take your whole family. 'Cause this is just an all-around great film, and I would give it a B+ letter grade.
I would give it an A.
So those are our thoughts on the film. Let us know your thoughts on the film, as well as your thoughts on the drawing in the comment section down below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and hit that bell notification icon to be notified anytime I put up a new video. Thanks everyone, and have a great day.
Bye!